Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining our week 2 Sabbath class, our video class. Let me just give you a heads up before I continue on with the voice recording for this class. I do have a toddler. I know a lot of you already know that, but I am at home with her every day. So if you're ever listening to these and you hear some noise in the background, it's her. She's fine. She just is two. So for those of you who have kids or no kids, there's not really much I can do about that. But so she's got a movie going and she's playing, but we might hear a little bit of noise here and there. But I'm going to try to keep that to a minimum. Before we get started with this week's lesson, I wanted to touch on your homework assignment for this week. I don't know if you all have, I know I only saw, I think only one submission so far before posting this video today. But don't forget that you do have a homework assignment weekly and it will always be the same assignment. What I'd like you to do is to create a piece of visual representation of the Sabbath that we spoke of the week before. So do this week, you'll submit the visual representation for MBOK that we talked about last week. And I posted an example, and I believe one of your fellow classmates also posted one in the homework channel. So I just wanted to remind you all about that. As always, everything is totally optional. You are not in any way required to do that. It's just helpful for you. So just make sure that if you'd like to do that, that you do get that submitted, and you do have through the end of the day on Sunday this week to submit that. Of course, honestly, you could probably submit it anytime, but I'm asking that you could try to wrap it up by the end of this week so that we can move on to the next one. But also moving forward, I am going to be giving out some focus questions for the week, just to kind of help wrap everything up for you and just kind of help you get into the mindset of thinking about these Sabbats yourself. I did not give you any focus questions for MBOK, but I am going to give you some for Ostara, and I'd like for you to try to complete those as soon as you're able to finish the lessons for the week. So once you finish the reading assignment and once you've done the video class, if you want to go ahead and respond to those focus questions, there's no requirement with any of that as usual, but if you get a chance to do it, it'll just kind of help bring everything around for you and just help get you thinking about the Sabbath and what it might be for you. So we'll talk more about those focus questions at the end of this class, but just to get that in your mind for now. So let's go ahead and get started. So this week we are going to be talking about Ostara, and most of us have grown up celebrating Easter. This is kind of the pagan equivalent, and that is a very loose equivalent. The symbols are the same and so forth, but as you read in the reading assignment, we're not really sure where it derived from. There's a little bit of interesting history there. So let's also go ahead and do the recap of our reading assignment. In our voice class this past Saturday, some of you had said that would be really, really helpful. So let's go ahead and recap our reading assignment. I'm going to just hit the highlights. If you haven't gotten a chance to do the reading assignment, it's still there, and there will be things that I don't touch on. Like I said, just going to hit the highlights. So one thing to remember is that Ostara falls on March 20th, and is actually more commonly referred to as the vernal equinox. This is when the sun hits its zenith. It is directly over the equator, so we get the most direct rays of sun at that point of the year. And one thing that is extremely notable is that Ostara is a very, very debatable Sabbath. It was brought around as a true Sabbath with the creation of the Wiccan religion. However, it's kind of been loosely practiced over the years. But it's very debatable because, unfortunately, unlike most of our other Sabbats that we practice and celebrate, there's just not a lot of written history about Ostara, nor the goddess Ostara. That pronunciation can differ, but we're going to call her Ostara, who is actually very heavily associated with Ostara. She actually doesn't even appear until the 7th century. So we aren't entirely sure whether the pagan themes were borrowed from Christianity's Easter or if they borrowed from us. It is very up in the air. Again, just it's very debatable. A lot of people choose whether or not they are even going to celebrate it, since there isn't a lot of written history about it. So it's unclear whether our ancestors actually held true celebrations. That being said, we can admit that there was an observation of the vernal equinox, but maybe not a huge celebration around it. Again, we're just not sure. We just don't know. But there are several monuments across the world that are that were erected in honor of the vernal equinox. If you check our reading assignment, you can see a few of those. You don't need to expect those to be on a quiz. Those are really just so that you're aware. But Ostara, she is the goddess of spring, fertility, and dawn. We're going to discuss her a little bit more in this video class. But even though there isn't a lot of written history about her, we can still celebrate her and what she stands for around this Sabbat. But just do know there's not a lot known about her pre-8th century. That's really all that we know, is that she came around in the 8th century. So let's go ahead and dig into what we're going to be discussing this week. That gets our reading assignment recapped. So let's talk about Ostara in our modern world. When it came to Imbolc, we made the metaphor of comparing it to a cocoon, a time of inner reflection and development and planning and getting ready to emerge. Staying with that metaphor, Ostara is a lot like a butterfly. You're coming out of that cocoon. Those plans that you set back in the time of Imbolc, those are going to be ready to start evolving and coming to fruition during Ostara. Another good metaphor for Ostara would be a kite. This is a time of setting free. Think of a kite being released into the air, yet still grounded. We're not quite at the time period where we're just going to let everything loose. So you're still grounded, still holding that string in your hand, keeping your feet on the ground, but you're also flying and starting to let these aspirations and goals come to fruition. So this is a time of spring. Spring is in the air. There's new life. There's new calves. There's lambs being born. The bees are coming out. All the flowers are coming to bloom. But it's also a time of that inner change. Before in Imbolc we were making plans. Now we're going to go ahead and start that changing period. So one thing that is also important to note is that for a lot of pagans, this is the time where they're really going to utilize their resolutions for the year. You know, some people choose New Year's Day as the day that they put out all of their resolutions and they start working on them immediately. But some pagans choose to wait until this vernal equinox as the time to really put those resolutions into action, just because it is such a positive time of the year. We are coming out of the time where, during these darker winter months, we've been really secluded. And I mean, sometimes it can be a little bit depressing and isolating. And since we are opening up the doors, this is a great time for those resolutions to really, truly begin. And it's also a time of love and friendship. We're making new relationships, whether it's a loving relationship or just a friendship. Either way, it's just a time for new relationships to begin. So let's talk about how you can actually celebrate this Sabbath yourself. A great thing to do is to start a garden. I know some people might have already been planting their garden or getting their seedlings started back during the time of Imbolc and through this period of Ostara. So get that garden started. Go ahead and start planting. A garden doesn't have to just be literal. It can also be metaphorical. So take a look at your inner garden, your mind, body, spirit. This is a good time to start working on that. You can start a new exercise regimen. You can start working on your meditation skills. And remember that these changes don't come after just one or two sessions. Make sure you really give it a good effort. Give yourself 2 weeks to start a new habit because it does take time to develop those. But start working on making yourself better all around, not just physically, but mentally. And again, this is a great time for meditation, reflection. Think about who you're planning to become this season. This is a great time for new beginnings. You can take a walk in nature, observe the signs of spring, what's blooming, look at the new animals that are emerging, and just really enjoy what Mother Nature is giving us. And as silly as it may sound, it's also a really good time to get outside and play. And I know most of us are adults and teenagers, and playing sounds kind of juvenile, but get outside and do some playing. Get playful. You can fly a kite or play any kind of outdoor games. I know we like to play cornhole here or horseshoes or anything you can think of. Get outside and have some fun. The weather is going to be great. It's sunny and it's getting warmer, and it's a good time to be outside, especially if you've got kids. And just like they do with Easter for the Christian religion, they have egg hunts. We can have egg hunts as well. You can even have an egg race, which I know those can be kind of fun too. And one thing that has kind of dwindled away that doesn't really get done much anymore is an egg dance. And they used to be really, really popular many, many years ago. And basically what an egg dance is it's like a tradition where you would literally just fill an area with some eggs that are kind of scattered about, and then just kind of dance around and just try to avoid destroying them and just kind of play some really fun music. And especially if you have kids, it can be really fun. And it sounds silly, but it's a lot of fun and gets you outdoors. And this is a really good time to be enjoying all the pleasures that Mother Nature gives us. The sunlight, the plants, the animals, the scents of the season, everything. Just get outside and enjoy everything that's being offered to us. So also you can give prayers and offerings to Ostara. Again, she is the goddess of the dawn, spring, and fertility. And if you're wanting to honor her, a good way to do that would be to wake up a little bit early on the 20th of March. Get up and observe the dawn as it's coming around. You can also go outside and collect some morning dew that's on the grass or the flowers and place that as an offering for her. Another thing you can do is you can dress in all white. You can make flower chains to put in your hair. Just a little bit of a way to honor what she represents. So let's take a few minutes to talk about the magical associations of Ostara. The focuses of this Sabbat, magically at least, would be balance, birth, change, fertility, growing in strength, light, beginnings, rebirth, and renewal. If you want to incorporate the colors, think candles and decorations, you would want to use green, light blue, pink, silver, violet, white, yellow. Really, any kind of pastel colors are good for this Sabbat. The herbs that are most highly associated are broom, high john root, iris moss, and lemongrass. And if you like to burn incense, as I've told you that I definitely do, you can always choose fragrances such as apple blossom, honey, lilac, orange blossom, rose, and rain. If you would like to have some flowers in your home, maybe get a vase and use those on your altar, or even if you want to plant some flowers this season in honor of Ostara, you could choose daisy, honeysuckle, tulip, rose, or violets. There are a lot of animals that are associated with Ostara. They would be bees, boars, butterflies, chicks, hedgehogs, horses, the phoenix, the puka, rabbit, ram, and robin. If you are gathering some symbols or tools, you might choose baskets, eggs, hair, or seeds. And for food or drink offerings, or if you'd like to make a feast for yourself or your family, you could always use asparagus, dill, eggs, honey, lamb, lettuce, radishes, seafood, spring onions. Drinks could be in spring colors or mead. And you can utilize those magical associations in any way that you want to. A lot of people like to use them for their spell work or for decorating their altar, and some people even use them in decorating their homes. It's definitely good to know. And there are several crafts that you can make, and I'm just giving you a few ideas here. One of them is cascarones, and I could absolutely be mispronouncing that. That is just how I pronounce it. And basically, those are eggs that have been dyed. You can decorate them with sigils, or even paint them if you'd like to. And it is just the egg shell, and you can fill them with confetti or glitter, whatever you'd like. And a lot of times on Ostara, or some people use them on Easter, but on Ostara you can like crack them over someone's head, and it's just a way to kind of celebrate. One way we could use the cascarones in a magical way is you could use them to give blessings to someone. You could dye them appropriate colors based on whatever blessings you would like to give them. And you can also fill the eggs, instead of with confetti or glitter, you could fill them with appropriate herbs or oils, whatever it is that you would like to, that are corresponding to the blessing you'd like to give them. Whenever you would like to give someone their blessing, their cascarone blessing, you can just crack the egg over their head and slowly pour the contents over them so that they receive the blessing. It will make a little bit of a mess. It might be better to do it outside, but it's a really good way to practice your magic and give blessings to those that are close to you. You can also dye eggs and inscribe them with different sigils and symbols that are important to you and your magic. And you can have those on your altar space if you'd like to, or you can leave them outside for bringing some color into your area. You can also do painted rocks. I remember as a kid doing them on Easter, actually. But as we celebrate Ostara, you could also decorate them with sigils, paint them bright colors that are associated with the Sabbat, and use them as well to brighten up your space in your altar. So let's go ahead and talk about our focus questions for the materials we're talking about this week. So what I'd like you to do, don't worry about copying these down from this video. I'm also going to put them on our assignment page so that you all can have them there. So what I'd like for you to do is spend some time thinking about the answers to these questions, and you can submit the answers on our homework page as well. Again, I'll put all this information on our assignments page. But so let's just go over these questions really quickly. So the lack of history on the vernal equinox or Ostara is a little bit puzzling to some. I would like to know why you think that our ancestors maybe didn't record much about this as opposed to the other Sabbats. What do you think they actually were doing during this time of the year? And there are no right answers to any of these. I just want what you think about this. So, number 2, the sudden appearance of Ostara in written history in the 8th century leads some to doubt her previous existence. How do you feel about that? What do you think? Do you think that maybe she did exist all along, but there just wasn't much written about her? Or do you think that she didn't come around in existence until that time? What's your stance on Ostara? Number 3, one focus of Ostara is new beginnings. Do you have any new beginnings that you want to focus on this year? Are you planning any fresh starts that you really want to get into fruition come Ostara? Number 4, do you plan to include Ostara in your yearly Sabbat celebrations? Some pagans don't incorporate that. And you'll actually come to find that a lot of pagans don't celebrate all 8 Sabbats. They just celebrate what resonates with them. But do you plan on celebrating it? If you do, what do you think you'll do to celebrate? But if you plan to not celebrate, why is that? Why do you think that you'll omit Ostara from your yearly celebrations? So give those a look, think about those, and if you just want to post those by the end of this week, again, I'll post more information about that on our homework page. Okay, so let's talk about what you can expect next week. Just as we did this week, next Monday, you can expect to see the assignments for the week. I will list your reading assignment on there, and I will also give you a link to the quiz for you to take over Ostara. And there will also be another description for you about your visual representation that I'd like for you to submit. On Tuesday, as we did this week, I will link your video class for you, and we will be discussing Beltane. I will also give you your focus questions on Tuesday, just as I am this week. And on Saturday, you can expect the check-in as we have been doing, and we will recap the week. I'll ask how everyone's doing, and we will do a Q&A if you all have any questions. And that will be all that we have for this week. That's all the materials we're going to cover. So make sure that you, if you'd like to take your quiz over in bulk, the link for that is posted in the assignments tab. Also, don't forget to submit your in-bulk visual representation by the end of this week on Sunday. And don't forget to do your focus questions for this week if you'd like to. So there's a lot of stuff going on for this class. And just remember, everything is optional. It's totally up to you which assignments you'd like to do. I do encourage you to do all of them, only because it'll give you the most comprehensive understanding of each Sabbat. And the visual representations are great for being able to celebrate a Sabbat if you aren't able to be openly celebratory when it comes time for them, especially for the broom-closeted witches. So that's all we have, guys. I am going to catch up with you on Saturday. If you have any questions or concerns, as usual, feel free to reach out to me, and I will talk to you all soon. Have a great day, guys.